Alrighty, hello and welcome. This is somewhat a continuation from a prior video, that's why we're already 2-0. You can see the other matches in a video that I'll post before this one. So anyway, we're back at this, playing some Historic Pauper, and we're playing the same blue-black deck. This right now is what I think is the best way to attack the format. Obviously, Ikoria, Lair of the Behemoths, is going to change the format a little bit, but we'll just have to see how that goes at that point. For right now, as I've said before, I disagree with the current blue-black strategy. I think you want creatures. I think you want things that impact the board immediately. And I think you want value. So that's why I'm playing Aven Eternal, which is excellent at stopping up the ground, as there's a lot of X1s in the format. Again, about the X1s, Skeleton Archer is great at least getting a 2-for-1, if not a 3-for-1, depending on the combination of cards they need to kill it. Because there's a lot of 2-power cards, but there aren't a ton of 3-power. And then there's Salvager of Secrets as a nice little engine, which works well with Recover and just a general value card. The secret card in this list that you should be looking at is why it's so good against Hexproof. And I think it's probably better against Hexproof than most other versions. It's Bladebrand. There's nothing that really gives First Strike right now. I'm a little worried about what's going to happen if there's a bunch of cards that give First Strike counters in Ikoria Rise of the Lair of the Behemoths, but right now, Bladebrand is actually a very interesting and unexpected answer that Green-White Hexproof just can't play around. The only thing that they can have is the Akarametra's Blessing to give it indestructible. But if they have Blessing, you're kind of out of luck anyway. And Bladebrand at least cycles, so you get to diversify your answers between Libation and Bladebrand. It's worth mentioning that because right now Hexproof is somewhere between 30 and 40% of the best of one format, as it's harder to hate out. Otherwise, we'll talk about this more in-game, and I'll play some number of games. We'll see. I know I'm halfway through an event here. Hopefully this will work out and we can get some interesting and fun matches. I played a few extra last time as the matches went a little faster than we wanted. People conceded rather quickly on certain times. And per usual, if this counter hits 30 seconds, we're going to assume that it's not actually pairing us right now, as that often happens, at least for Historic Pauper in this latter part of the week, as it's going to be expiring very shortly, unfortunately. But hopefully this will at least whet your appetite for next time, as this usually gets played about 3 times a year. And I know that with the advent of a lot more tournament pairing software that we can use for Arena, that it's going to be much easier to actually be playing online tournaments. And hopefully there'll be some Historic Pauper tournaments. Hopefully people are still playing this format. There we go. Feel like I've played against this opponent before. That name seems familiar. Okay, this hand is it's not absolutely perfect, but it's pretty close. The one thing we might have trouble with is mono red, given that we're on the draw. The hands where you have Moment of Craving against mono red versus when you don't are very different, as Moment of Craving just stops them in their tracks. You gain the life, you kill their creature on 2. Right now it looks like we're playing against mono black. Mono black is generally a good matchup. It can be a little grindy, simply because we have to play through their we'll just play this end of turn. We have to play through Ill-Gotten Inheritance and all of their life gain. Moment of Craving is not good against them. Recover is quite good, especially given that we're going to start the Salvager's loop later in the game. The only card that actually matters in their entire deck is Ill-Gotten Inheritance. Because I don't have a counterspell, I'm just going to play this thing out. Aven Eternal is not great against them, but eventually over time you build up enough creatures to overcome them, because all of your creatures are basically 2-for-1s. So you can overcome whatever they're doing. So they had to waste a Witch's Cottage. This is good. We don't really care right now. We've got Libation, so we care about we can kill the card we're looking, where we can kill Ill-Gotten Inheritance. The other card actually that we care about is Reaper, as the discard followed by the large threat is annoying at the very least. We don't really want to do anything. We'll probably consider scrying, but right now there isn't anything we can do. There's nothing to recur. I would just be inclined to not do anything here. And I would be inclined just to play Sanctuary, because here, we'll attack first. We're a few too many islands away, and we just need to hit land drops. Really, at this point, what you do in this matchup is you go up to 10, 11 lands, and you just keep going. And you build a bunch of advantage, you get a bunch of answers. They're going to kill our guy. We really don't care. We're actually glad they're using Ob Nixilis's Cruelty, because the card that we care the most about, we'll keep this just to grind them out of a few more cards. It's not a bad card at this point. We're glad because Salvager is what we actually need to not be exiled, because it's important for our recover loop. And that'll be our sticky threat that we win the game with. Feral Abomination. This is really cute. I actually like this. I was looking at this before. I don't think it's a good card to play, but because there are so few Death Touch cards in the format, it's important to have them for the Hexproof matchup. I actually considered playing Hired Poisoner, which is a 1/1 for 1 with Death Touch, as an answer to... I will take the time to... I'll spend a libation as an answer to Hexproof, but I decided that Bladebrand, given that it cantrips, is just better. And I don't think that my opinion on that is wrong. We'll bring back Libation. Libation's better. It hits more targets. I'm debating on cycling Bladebrand, but I think I'll just hold on to it for right now. We can cycle it next turn. This might make them a little more hesitant. And we'll see if they have anything to follow up. Oh, that's really quite good. Well, we're going to have a little bit of a battle here then. I'm just going to use a libation here and get in for 5, as we're racing, and we'll just use our libations to get in some damage. And the great thing about Bladebrand, actually, in addition to it being a defensive card, it's an offensive card against many decks, as you can make quote-unquote impossible attacks because they don't have any profitable blocks. So that means you can actually attack into Hexproof, and we win this one. This is an odd list. I've never seen Feral Abomination. Audacious Thief is pretty common. Like, all the cards they've played are pretty common except for Feral Abomination, which I think is fine, but I think it's a little too expensive to be good. So let's jump right back in. But as I was saying, Bladebrand is a great offensive card because you can make these attacks that put pressure on the opponent while also keeping back a couple of blockers to keep the opponent honest. That they can't just say, "Oh, I'm going to build a giant hexproof creature that you cannot interact with, and I'm going to attack you every turn." And it's also going to be back on blocks because it has Sentinel's Eyes and it has Vigilance. In this case, you can keep them very honest and just say, well, I'm sorry, I'm going to attack you for 5, and what are you going to do about it? And at first, they're really not sure what you're doing, and eventually they catch on. This hand is pretty good. I'd be a little worried if we're playing against blue-black. The creatureless versions don't have targets for these, and we end up killing our own stuff to stop it from being exiled, but this is fine. I'm a little light on lands. We're on the play, at least. So I expect I can recover from most aggro matchups. This would be a little soft to something with ill-gotten gains, just because I don't have anything against it. Red is, seeing a mountain is great. We're going to sit around on this. There's no reason to do anything. Land was perfect. I think we're probably just going to trounce them here, because Skeleton Archers is just going to show how good it is. We're going to see if we can encourage them to do something pre-combat. Fungal Infection is best when you can tag something that's either attacking or just sitting there, and then use the Saproling token to block. However, I'm going to let them attack here. This is just letting them deal a little bit of damage, but I want to see what's happening, and I also want to see if I can encourage a dwarf. I'd like to encourage this for next turn. Okay, that's fine. I will... I'm actually going to kill this one just because it does damage. And I know I took an extra 2 damage for effectively no reason, but I wanted to play around Infuriate and a few other things that could have made that more annoying. So right now we're just going to stop up the ground, and you're going to see exactly how good Aven Eternal is. This used to be Aviation Pioneer. I like Eternal better. It's nice having the flyer be the 2/2. It's a little annoying when your token gets pacified, but other than that, I love Aven Eternal, and I think it's one of the most underappreciated cards in the format. Sorry. All right, let's see how they decide to get around it. They're probably going to shock it, or sure, Scorching Dragonfire. Okay, so they've spent 1 card. Let's keep our card count. And now maybe I trade for this thing. Or they have to do something else. Oh, look. Nice little 2-for-1 there. We traded for a removal spell, killed their creature. Everyone's happy. I'm going to take the 2 just because I really need to hit land drops here. And in this case, it's not actually going to be 2. I am going to kill it right now. I don't want to get into any matches with Infuriate or anything like that. I just want my clean 2-for-1. This creature is good as gold going forward, as it's going to trade for something. And next turn, if we draw land, we can rebuy Moment of Craving, and we're just going to be so far ahead. All of our cards do something. Clear the Mind's a little awkward, but that's what it is. I am going to draw the cards just because Aven Eternal would be okay, but I just want to get going, and I want lands, and lands are what makes this deck function. So we don't have anything we can do. We'll just play that. They don't. They have 1/1 haste cards. I'll attack for 1. We get a little bit punished if they have Fanatic, but other than that, it really doesn't matter. They shouldn't have anything that has haste that we can profitably block. I'm not sure why they're shocking us. That doesn't make any sense. And by punished, we take 1 extra damage, which really doesn't matter. So I'm just going to play Salvagers. And I'm actually going to rebuy Secrets of the Golden City right now because we're very close to our 10 permanent limit, or a 10 permanent for Ascend. And because Mystic Sanctuary, we can rebuy Moment, and then we can draw it and play it on the same turn. And this makes it just a little bit more surprising. All right, they're on a 6-turn clock now, which will cut down to a 3-turn clock, or possibly a 2-turn clock. All right, Lavamancer, and we would love to trade for Lavamancer given the opportunity. And, oh, stealing my guy. Okay. We'll take 4. Sure, I'll take a Moment of Craving. Do that. How many permanents do I have? I think I have enough at this point, even if they have a shock. We've got 4, we've got 6, 11. Okay. So let's draw 3 cards. And we don't have everything we want, but honestly, it doesn't matter. After Treason is a weird choice. I don't think that's a good one. It doesn't hit enough targets. We'll trade for a card. Doesn't really matter if we trade for a combat trick or not. Our creatures are not precious. That's one of the things I really like. A good example is if you're playing Soul of the Rapids, which is a 3/2 flying hexproof for 5. It can't block. You just can't brawl with any of these cards. And it just creates a bunch of bad situations for you. So let's just kill this now. None of the cards actually matter, so we're going to rebuy Moment again because we already have a draw spell. And we'll just go up to 7 cards again. They should throw in the towel in a minute. we had a very good draw against them. It's hard for them to interact against multiple moments, and we're getting to replay the same moment for the third time. Yeah. All right, so we'll start, because this one went a little bit quickly, we'll start another match, another tournament, and play a couple of games of that and see what there is to see. They can go under you if for instance, I've played games where I have Moment of Craving, but I also have 3 tap lands, so I actually can't play it until the third turn. That causes a lot of problems. All right, let's see what we got. Okay. You can always use more Sun Petal Groves. And I'll make sure that I play this in the next 46 hours or whatever. This is what we want. And we'll jump right back in. Since I haven't said it in this video, and just in case you're only watching this one, the Pauper format is primarily based around 4 decks, with a couple of supplemental decks that are not quite tier 1. The tier 1 decks are Mono Red Burn, Blue Black. There's a disagreement on what Blue Black actually should look like, as I believe creatures are correct. Other people think Ill-Gotten Inheritance is good, but I don't like Inheritance right now. I think that you need something that impacts the board immediately, and Inheritance is not good at that. For instance, if I have Skeleton Archers instead of Inheritance, and you run Mono Red, and you're attacking me for 5 every turn, and I play Inheritance, and the hypothetical Blue-Black deck plays Inheritance on 4, then it just takes 5. It's going to lose most of those games. It has to stabilize. This is going to be a little slow, but we've got enough to stop aggro, and then we've got some stuff against control. So we'll see what happens. Mono Black is probably our worst matchup with this hand, because we don't have an answer. Anyway, back at it. So Blue Black, Mono Red Burn. They're playing an island. I'm just going to play a tapped land. You only have certain turns where you can take off the time, and we have Fungal Infection. I don't know what they're on, so I'm just going to play a guy and start attacking. That's my general rule. The third deck is Green-White Hexproof, obviously. Oh, this is probably Blue-Green Hexproof. Yeah, we couldn't have answered that. So we're going to have to figure out a way to get out and about here. So we're not going to have profitable blocks for the most part. I think that means we need to dig at this point, just because we need to get to one of those answer cards. We're going to have to kill this at some point, just because if we don't, it gets a little bit ugly. I'm not going to try and race right now. I'd actually rather trade. I don't care about trading for this, but I want to force this thing to... I want them to commit resources to the token. That's great for us. We don't care. We'll just murder it at some point. Blue-green usually doesn't actually have anything that stops kill spells. Whereas white-green, or green-white, obviously has Karametra's Blessing. So I expect that my murder will resolve. I have not seen lists playing Dive Down yet, but obviously there's a first time for everything. All right, so they're just like putting a bunch of stuff together. We're going to take some time to kill their stuff. I'm debating on if I want them to commit. I think let's just wait. I want to see what tricks they have. I don't think we're going to get blown out. And I think we're going to get some profitable blocks and other things going on. I might even get into a block. Oh, we're going with Ancestral Mask. Okay. This could work out really well. Let's just see. If they don't commit another one and we kill this, this is going to go back down to... because it's each other enchantment. Yeah, you can't attack with the other thing. How do I want to do it? I think I just want to murder this one outright, and then I'll use Moment of Craving on this. They're going to negate, and you'll notice I did this pre-blocks, so I get to take advantage of doing it this way. And we get a nice little free 2-for-1 there. Kind of a 2-for-1, because they still have the guys. So this is where Bladebrand shines, because look, if I had Libation, I can't crack these two. For right now, though, we're just going to continue developing our board. I'm at 8 permanents. All right, so I need more. So we're still going to draw. And, oh, look, we're defenseless. What are we going to do against the big old bad Ancestral Mask? Ancestral Mask, one thing to make note of is that it counts our enchantments too, so it counts our Omen of the Seas. That's something to keep in mind. I'll admit I blundered that the first time. I didn't read it closely enough as I knew I was never going to play it. But it's definitely a card to watch out for. Okay, they make their guy bigger. We don't care. No one cares. If they attack with that, I'm going to Fungal Infection it, just because I don't have anything better to do. And then eat it. Fungal Infection is really bad in this matchup. It's okay in the blue-white version, but it's really not good in this one. This should be enough permanents. This is 7 lands, 3 permanents. All right, let's ascend and get back into this game here. We can do a lot of stuff now. It's great. We're just going to sit here, though. At some point, I'm going to start attacking. I actually should have considered an attack, but I want to... Yeah, this is going to work out rather well, then. I guess I needed the flyer. They have negates. Negates are not the most common answer. I'm debating on whether I should wait one more turn, but we take a lot of damage is the problem. I'm going to try something a little interesting. I'm actually going to Blade Brand the Aven Eternal right now, and then just go to blocks. It looks like they don't have anything. That was just to make sure that they didn't have a counterspell, as if they did have a counterspell, I wanted to try and redraw. Okay, so we've killed one of them. We got a 2-for-1, and we'll just see where it goes. I'm going to dig now, as it doesn't really matter. They've got too many hexproof creatures. Toll is not going to be great. We obviously don't need the land. They could have something. I believe that they actually have something, so we're going to keep Toll, and then we'll use the Scry on the other end. Making the token a little bit bigger is going to be useful. Oh, and they immediately just have something. Oh, well. That's probably why we should have actually waited on Omen of the Sea. That was a premature Omen of the Sea. I just assumed they wouldn't have anything. At this point, then, we'll just Skeleton Archers, kill the Elves, play a land, and I can either reshuffle, which is okay. I think at this point with 3 secrets, I should reshuffle. I don't think that they can do anything that's going to make their stuff big enough. All right, that was so-so, but it's fine. All right, Mistcloaked Herald. We've luckily got Moment of Craving for when they decide to do that. They actually might be incentivized to use it at this point, given that they don't have a lot of great game otherwise, and they can just assume that they're able to fade stuff. And we're going to look a little bit desperate sacking this, but we're actually in a pretty good situation. I like green-white hexproof more than blue-green, but blue-green is definitely a good take on the archetype. All right, 1 top, 1 bottom. Where are they going with this? Warbriar's Blessing. Sure. They're going to kill something. Great thing is once you target, you're actually committed, so I'm going to cycle this at this point and kill off their thing. Okay, so we got a nice little 2-for-1 there. And we got to draw a counterspell. I don't mind taking a little bit of damage off of this. I'd rather actually just get into... I'd rather get the 2-for-1 later. So right now I'm just going to sit on this for a bit. All right, we don't want lands, obviously. We've got plenty of lands. We just want card draw spells. All right, we'll play the 3rd island, as that'll turn on Sanctuary if we think it's a good idea. I think I'm just going to rebuy... Debating on just rebuying Blade Brand here, and then starting to attack. I think that's pretty reasonable. Yeah, let's do that. Let's rebuy the Blade Brand. It's not the absolute best, but at least it gets us closer to our goal, and we can decide if we're going to do something with it. And I'll absolutely trade Salvager of Secrets if given the opportunity. But right now, we just want to attack, attack, attack. Toll I'll use at some point when I need a slightly bigger guy. I think I'm going to do that after I trade off for the Jungleborn Pioneers. They just have a million creatures. We don't really care. we're good at brawling with creatures, and we'll make our toll slightly better. Yeah, I still don't care. Our draws are just better than theirs, so. Actually, I'll use toll to take out the negate at some point if they decide to sit on a card. I can't really do much, but I can send you in for some damage. And we're just trying to thin their ranks, so to speak. But I'm glad that you get to see a slightly more interesting and complex game now. That's weird that they're main phasing this. They should either be upkeeping it or they should just wait until the end of our turn, unless they've got a card draw spell now. We still don't care. We're just very fine on what we're doing. Could rebuy something here. I don't think that's worthwhile, though. I think it's better just to attack for 3 and call it good. If they want to try some trades, we'll blow them out, but they shouldn't. We should just be able to attack them for a few turns. Yeah, and we are fine with this. We'll just take the time to kill this. Okay, so we're not going to be able to 2-for-1 them now, but I'm just going to play this out just because we need the clock, and I will take this, and if another turn cycle or something else goes around, I'll consider how I want to use it. It's unfortunate that I did give up the information, but at this point, we've got a pretty good clock. It's about a 2-turn clock. So it can't be blocked. So it can block. So I'm actually just going to sit on this moment. There's no reason we actually care about the damage, whereas we have a counter spell and 2-turn clock, and we can stop their creatures. So we should actually just be turning the corner right now. This is pretty much how it goes usually. The Bladebrand / Libation is just so good at creating a favorable race that they can't possibly hope to win. Probably should have done that. Putting them to 7 would actually be good, because then it forces a double chump next turn. That was my fault. So I didn't do the math on that. Given that I have how many counterspells I have, it was absolutely right to Toll of the Invasion to buff up the zombie. And you'll notice something funny when I do that, actually. The zombie token is going to look different. It took me a while to actually notice that. You're not going to attack. Really? All right, so now we're going to buff the zombie token. It's a little late for it to matter perfectly, but might as well. Starlit Mantle. Sure, that's fine. We don't mind Starlit Mantle. And look, zombies, we gain more things over there. All right, so we'll just attack. We kill them in 2 turns, so. We took a turn off of where we wanted to be, but honestly, if they're doing this, we're on 2 counterspells, Bladebrand, Moment of Craving, it doesn't matter. It was just a mistake the way we did it. I suppose I actually could have killed some of their stuff and that would have been good, but here, we'll dash their hopes a little bit. Yep. So that's blue-green hexproof. All right, let's run back a few more games just because I think this is probably the last tournament, last event I'll play because the pairings are slowing down a little bit, but hopefully we can get some casual people together and either play some best of 1 or best of 3. I do have some lists floating around if we need that. And I think that this deck gets even better in best of 3 because you get to have some highly impactful sideboard slots, and there isn't a lot that's really good against this deck because of how good the value engine is. Yeah, this is fine. Like, it's got some weak points. I wouldn't mind another land, but that's fine. We've got some good early stuff to stop aggression against red. So we're probably just going to be casting Moment of Craving. I'm just going to Moment of Craving now, as I don't feel like taking the extra damage. I don't feel that I have the safety net that I did in the other one. If we miss on lands for a couple of turns, this could get bad. If we hit one more land, oh, you're Kiln Fiend. Oh. This could be very bad. Kiln Fiend could just go out and kill us. But hopefully, if we survive this next turn, which we should survive this turn, everything should be fine. Lands. Ugh, so bad. So if we survive this turn, then we should be okay. And there's no reason to think we won't survive this turn, given that they missed a land drop on the last turn. If they were at 4 lands right now, and then they went crash through, something, fling, we would be dead. As is, this is a slower start. It is going to be aggressive enough, though, and we're going to have to take some time to fight back. I'm going to toll, given how slow this hand is. I just want a toll of the invasion, and then that'll stop the Pyromancer, or at least force them to do something. Okay. So they have all these things. Bargain is actually the worst for us because it gives trample. Otherwise, we can force them to trade a card for everything we're doing. And I expect we'll survive this next turn. But this was definitely it was really awkward that we stumbled on lands. Anytime you stumble on lands, you miss the first, you don't get to 3 or 4. It gets very difficult. They're going to infuriate this turn, and they're going to get us for a lot. So this is going to be really close. I actually think they should have killed the token and then infuriated. That would have gotten through more damage. Right now they have to, if they want to save this, they have to infuriate this, and then they only get the +3 before they were going to get +6. Oh, they're just trading. Okay. Yeah, so now we're trying to drag our way out of this. So you can kill things. So I can kill this, and then I go to 1. So this was a really awkward time to stumble. This is basically showing you what happens if there's a stumble. Mono red will punish you, either mono red or mono red Kiln Fiend. So I expect we're probably dead in this game. But if we draw a Moment of Craving, we can't even cast 2 spells. Yeah. If we'd had Moment for the Kiln Fiend, there's no way they would have done enough damage, but our stumble on lands was just unfortunately too crushing. So they ping us, and then they shoot this, and then maybe they play another spell, and then it just goes over the top. Oh. If this is the case, we lose super hard to run amok, but there's nothing else we can do. Okay. Oh, and then we're just dead to Skewer. Yeah, that's unfortunate. All right, so that's one of the things that can happen. With a good hand, we just need to be able to cast spells. Anytime you're casting spells with this deck, you can come back from a lot of stuff. I've definitely survived a lot of games that it was like, oh, there's no way you can survive this, and then I draw Secrets of the Golden City, draw 3 cards, draw another 3 cards, kill their creature, gain 2 life, murder another creature, and you're back in business. It's very easy to stabilize in the later game. The trick is surviving the first couple turns and not being so far behind that you're always just trying to catch up, and they're always able to tempo you. All right, let's see if we need to restart this. And I think we do. It's going to pair us. Or we've lost our internet connection. One of those. I'm going to give it to typically about a minute. It declares a draw. If it doesn't, it means it's actually paired me, and I'm going to have to restart the client. All right, so we're going to have to restart the client here. And hopefully this works cleanly. Oh, yeah. See, now it decides it's ready. The unfortunate things of Arena, but that's how it is. We have a pretty good cushion, though, for restarting the clients at the beginning, so we'll be fine. Should be fine. Oh, so it didn't make us ready. All right, so we'll start it again. See if we can get a partner for this one. And again, 30 seconds. Sorry about the wait, everyone. Hopefully you're taking the time to skip ahead a little bit and not just listening to me ramble here. And we really cannot find an opponent. That's unfortunate. I'd like to finish out this event, hopefully at a nice 4-1 at this point, given that we couldn't take mono red there, or mono red Kiln Fiend. The two decks are different. They play a different selection of threats. Okay, this is kind of the same hand. We can't mulligan it, but okay. So we got the land this time, and we got it on time. We don't have a 2, but if they're playing a forest, they're probably on hexproof. So if they're on hexproof, our hand is okay against them. If they play a guy, we can deal with that. If they don't, I'm just going to jam Toll, as that'll give us some answers. They're playing the Beloved Princess version. They have Blessing. Blessing is the card that's hardest for us to deal with, so we're going to take Blessing. Because as you can see with Libation and Blade Brands, we are great against everything else. Let's see, did they draw a land? Yeah, I probably would have considered keeping that hand too. Given that we don't have anything, I'm just going to start attacking. That's one of the nice things about this deck, whereas the blue-black Ill-Gotten Inheritance deck takes 20 turns or so to kill you. This one can actually turn the corner and decide it's going to go to town and attack. And I'm going to keep drawing cards here. It's a little risky given that I had Essence Scatter, but I think that it's fine. I need to continue hitting lands to beat them. If they do draw something, then we can Essence Scatter it. Yeah, I know. It's unfortunate that this is how it's going for this match. It happens sometimes, though. They did keep they decided they didn't want to mulligan. They decided their hand was too good if they hit a plains. But if I saw a hand like that, unless it was all islands and I had almost all blue cards, I would not keep it. I don't want this. I don't want Moment of Craving. And we'll draw... Yeah, they're dead now. Because we can counter the next, 3 or 4 things they play. Either through Libation, through Murder, whatever else. And yeah. So that was an unfortunately fast one, but that also shows sometimes you got a mulligan if you don't have your colors. Especially if you don't have any filtering. I would definitely consider keeping a just island hand. if I had Omen of the Sea, just because Omen of the Sea is going to help me dig as many as like I'm going to get to see 5 or 6 cards before I run out of Omens if I'm on 3 lands and it's all islands. But again, Karametra's Blessing, ironically, is now the only card we care about in that deck. We care about having answers to hexproof, but given how many cards we see, we usually see one of the 4, and you can usually engineer a game state. But as you saw from the blue-green game, Blade Brand is incredibly important, as it gets around the multiple hexproof cards, or multiple hexproof creatures. This hand is good. It's going to be awkward if we're playing against red, just because we don't have any early threats. I'm going to start on Mystic Sanctuary, because we can't afford not to have the land. We're playing the blue-black mirror now. Let's see what list they're playing. This is typically a very long and difficult match, but we'll see if we can possibly steal something quickly. We're going to jam Aven Eternal in the next turn. There's nothing they can play early that matters. The cards that matter, this doesn't matter. We do want the land, though. Hitting your land drops is really important. The only cards that really matter are Ill-Gotten Inheritance from their deck, and also the later game cards that they play, such as the counter spells that they can use to protect different things. Like the Devious Cover-Up Loop is very annoying for us. We're going to sit right now because we don't have an answer to the Ill-Gotten Inheritance, and we're just going to sack this at end of turn, or we're going to cancel the Ill-Gotten Inheritance. Actually, sorry, we're going to play Omen of the Sea. The game is not quite as simple as cards, but it is very much about cards. So I'm just letting myself make my land drop here. I really want these to be draw 3, as I'm only a couple cards away, so I'm willing to wait on it. I'm probably going to consider scrying just to find more lands, and because of how important it is not to draw too many dead cards, they don't play any creatures typically, or if they do, they play 1, maybe 2 creatures. So we're just trying to find cards that actually matter. That's perfect. That in its own way replaces these, because we're waiting on these for a little bit, which might not be smart, but cards don't matter in this game. The only thing that matters is being decked, getting certain things exiled, because Devious Cover-Up exiles cards. They should have more counter spells than we do, so we're going to have to fight to resolve certain things. I'm going to leave that since we know the top card. So we're on 8 permanents right now. Actually, I'm going to play Skeleton Archers, just because we need a threat. It's going to get countered or crueltied or something. They shouldn't bother. Here's something, small little thing. Didn't Say Please is actually not good in the format right now because of escape cards. So I would not recommend playing it in the current format. That's why I switched over to cancels. I think it's better to be playing cancels. All right, we're going to try. They're probably going to have negate, because their deck can play negate. I don't think that negate is powerful enough in this format right now. And we drew a dead card. Because of that, I'm actually going to draw 2. The second one can be a draw 3. Yeah, see, this is where we start drawing the cards that don't matter. I'm going to try and find a land. It's a little greedy, but I really want to get to cards that matter, and Aven is something that will matter, given that it'll also give us the permanent we need. And we're on 8 lands right now, so that's good. I don't like Notion Rain. I think that Notion Rain's a bad card because the damage it deals you in the aggro matchups is so highly relevant. The additional sifting is nice, but I don't think that's where they want to be. They don't have the land, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see if they counter this. And sure. I'll try and draw 3. We have answers if they resolve an inheritance, so it's not a big deal. And we just draw a million bad cards, but that's how it is. Now we can start digging for more good cards. These are actually going to be used to kill our own creatures at a certain point, because then they won't be exiled. Keeping a salvager in the yard against cruelty is important. So it seems like they might be out of counterspells, as I would have considered stopping a draw 3 if I were them. But we've got 1 card in hand. Oh, they're playing Mephitic Vapors. We don't care about that. There's nothing we can do to stop the surveil. I don't think the fact that they're playing 2 Vapors is pretty aggressive. The card is very mediocre in a lot of times. You really have to time it to actually get any good value out of it. And even then, sometimes they just, like, if you play it and they've got Gitu Lavamancer and some other land like Kiln Fiend, you're just dead. We don't need lands anymore. Recover is fine. Yeah, recover is fine. We'll recover. I'd rather have Aven Eternal. See if they fight me. All my cards are 2 for 1, sir. Play Aven Eternal. Maybe they'll counter, maybe they won't. This goes on for a while. It's because eventually I present lethal. Their deck has a much harder time of doing that, but it takes a long time, and it really depends on how many counterspells they have. I'm going to have to stock up on relevant cards and use those cards to resolve a Clear the Mind at one point to reset all the stuff that I've lost. And that's how we're going to win, typically. Got an Inheritance. I care about who got an Inheritance. They have a negate now. They do. So many negates. See, this deck is really good against ours, but it's so bad against the rest of the format. I should have upkeeped this, as we need an answer. Unfortunately, Omen of the Sea is blocking for my Libation, so if they're smart, they're not going to sacrifice it. Yeah, so this deck is the Control Mirror Breaker, but because it has more counterspells than we do, so it does a much better job of stopping things than we can, and it does a better job of resolving its cards when it wants to. However, on the flip side, I don't think it's nearly as good against aggro, as it has to spend mana each turn to kill something, whereas we can just sit on creatures and use them as a forward-looking investment. We actually need a real answer. That's not a real answer. We'll play it, though. There's no reason not to, and later in the game, like, you do want to be able to have enough mana to fight the counter fight and do everything else. Well, our 1/1 will keep the Inheritance on their side in check, so they don't gain life, but their cards are more relevant than ours. That's how it goes. I've considered changing some stuff up. Maybe I shouldn't be playing Clear the Mind. I should actually be playing a second Devious Cover-Up. That would give me a better chance. Oh, look, it's blocking. So at some point, they're probably going to sacrifice that, and at that point, we're going to jam Libation and try and kill off the Inheritance. Although it looks like if they're smart, they're just going to leave the extra Omen of the Sea there, and it's going to be very hard to get through. Yeah, they have no need to do anything. They're a little low on lands, but they know they're winning. And that's dead. So we have 6 dead cards in hand now. We're going to play this out a little bit longer. We probably can't win this, but at the same time, it's difficult to assess. That might actually just kill us. I don't like the Bazooka Bog. Like, this hits too many of our important cards. The fact that it eats both of our cancels is important for the second cycle. Like, the games I've won against Blue-Black involve Clear the Mind, recycling the cancels, and then redrawing them with everything else. So this is going to be really hard on us, and we don't have Recover anymore. So that was an extremely good draw by them. I debated playing one in my list, but I don't think that I can afford it. I don't like having that many tapped lands, and I think it's you already have to play Mystic Sanctuary tapped a certain number of times, and maybe you cut a swamp for it, but it's rare that it matters. Although I have been talking about escape creatures, so maybe I should be doing that. Maybe that should be the next edition. Notion Rain, yep. We're going to give this probably another 3 to 4 minutes, another like 6 turns. See where it goes. Problem is, given that we don't have any relevant cards, we can't even stock up on things right now. And we're at 26 cards to their 29, so they win the decking race right now, and I can't imagine that they don't have Devious Cover-Up. We'll try. They'll say no. Yeah, and then they have Cover-Up. And then they have Cover-Up to recur, like Didn't Say Please, Ill-Gotten Inheritance, Negate, and... Sorry, this deck does not have 2 Negates. That was a different deck. Yep. What do they got? Just those 3? Is that it? Yeah. And a Notion Rain. Yeah, Notion Rain is good against us. Well, we can't do anything about that. I think we'll probably give it like maybe 2 more turns now. But we're realistically dead. The fact that their list play about 10 counterspells and our list plays they play 10 counterspells that can target non-creatures. We play 3, and then we also play 2 Toll of the Invasion. They typically don't play Toll. So Toll pretends to be a counterspell in this matchup, given that it forces a counterspell. But it doesn't really matter, unfortunately. They're playing a good game here, that they're stopping the Libation. Yeah, and then that's just going to kill us. Because we're actually dead in 3 turns. Because when we're dead actually when we hit 9. Because then end step they sack 1, and then upkeep it shoots us down to 4, and then they sack it again. Even if we could trick them with Moment of Craving, I don't think it's going to matter. Yeah, I'm just going to throw in the towel here. I could play to the bitter end, but I don't think anyone really wants to see that. It doesn't matter. All right, so I'm actually going to call it at this point. I think this gives you a pretty decent idea of the deck. We've gotten to play 5 games. I wish it could have gone a little bit better with this deck. We played 6 games, I guess, because we started on 2 wins on the other one. Hopefully you enjoyed this, and hopefully I'll see you again at some other time with Historic Pauper. I'd recommend you check out some of the other videos if you like Historic Pauper. I'm always down to chat more about this. I'll put the link in the link to the deck list in the description below. The deck list will be updated for each new set, so it might not correspond to the list we are playing today. However, it will be the most optimal list that you can be playing for each set release. Even though there is not an event, I typically update the deck anyway, or at the very least, I update the sideboard to show cards that I think might be relevant to come in the near future. Well, at least for now, I'm signing off. Hopefully you had a good time, and I'll see you some other time. Bye for now.